In 1975, One Day at a Time taught us that love and family are never perfect. Only forgiveness can hold them together. But half a century later, the very cast who once brought us laughter and hope have faced unimaginable tragedies: illness, broken marriages, addiction, and heartbreaking losses that stunned fans around the world. Now let's turn back time to uncover their iconic roles, their real lives, and the lasting legacies they left behind. Pat Harrington Jr. as Dwayne F. Schneider. Dwayne F. Schneider, the cigar-clutching handyman with a sharp tongue and a soft heart, was portrayed by Pat Harrington Jr. At 46 years old, Harrington breathed life into the role in One Day at a Time, 1975, creating one of television's most beloved comedic characters. His swagger, humor, and hidden tenderness turned a side role into the soul of the show, earning him a permanent place in sitcom history. Born Daniel Patrick Harrington Jr. on August 13, 1929 in New York City, Pat inherited both talent and turmoil from his father, a vaudeville performer whose fame flickered as quickly as it came. Discipline ruled his childhood: Catholic schools, military training, and quiet expectations of greatness. After serving as an Air Force intelligence officer during the Korean War, he seemed destined for a stable intellectual life. But the stage called louder than duty. Abandoning security for the uncertainty of acting, he began again, touring, hustling, learning to make people laugh even as he wrestled with his own doubts. On screen, Harrington's humor became his shield. As Schneider, he won 2 Emmys and a Golden Globe, his character's easy charm concealing the loneliness of the man behind the mustache. He lent his voice to the inspector and the Great Space Chase, starred in 9 to 5, and appeared on The Love Boat. But the laughter faded with time. His light was dimming. The energy that once filled sound stages turned fragile as illness slowly crept in. By 2012, Alzheimer's disease had begun erasing the memories that made him who he was. Sadly, Pat Harrington Jr. passed away on January 6, 2016, at the age of 86 from complications of Alzheimer's. His net worth, estimated at $5 million, reflected a lifetime devoted to his craft. Yet no number could measure the joy he brought to generations of viewers. Bonnie Franklin as Anne Romano. Anne Romano, a brave and outspoken single mother, was portrayed by Bonnie Franklin. At 31 years old, Franklin brought the character to life in One Day at a Time, 1975, turning her into a symbol of independence and vulnerability for millions of women. Across 9 seasons and more than 200 episodes, she didn't just play Anne, she was Anne, embodying the struggles and strength of an entire generation learning to stand on its own. Born on January 6, 1944 in Santa Monica, California, Bonnie grew up between discipline and silence. Her father, a Russian Jewish banker, demanded perfection. Her Romanian-born mother nurtured her creative spark. The clash between intellect and emotion shaped Bonnie's inner world, and performance became her only escape. By age 9, she was already on television, smiling through the quiet ache of a home divided between ambition and affection. From that pain came resilience, the same resilience she channeled into her Emmy-nominated portrayal of Anne Romano and into her Broadway triumph in Applause fame, however, was no cure for loneliness. Behind her radiant smile were the scars of exhaustion, the late nights spent working, and the unspoken grief of a woman who gave everything to her craft. When her husband, producer Marvin Minoff, passed away in 2009, a piece of her spirit went with him. By 2012, as she faced a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, Bonnie no longer fought for recognition, only for time. Finally, Bonnie Franklin passed away on March 1, 2013, at her Los Angeles home, aged 69. Her net worth was estimated at around $3 million, earned through decades of film, stage, and television work. Valerie Bertinelli as Barbara Cooper. Barbara Cooper, the witty and warm-hearted youngest daughter of Anne Romano, was portrayed by Valerie Bertinelli. At just 15 years old, Bertinelli brought Barbara to life in One Day at a Time, 1975, becoming the bright spark of the show's 9-season run. Her innocence, humor, and quiet strength captured the struggles of growing up in a changing America and turned her into one of television's most beloved teen icons of the late 70s. Born on April 23, 1960, in Wilmington, Delaware, Valerie Ann Bertinelli grew up in a family marked by love and loss. Her father, a General Motors executive, moved the family constantly. Her older brother, Mark, had died before she was born, a shadow of grief that lingered quietly over her childhood. That instability made Valerie restless and sensitive, always seeking belonging, always craving approval. Acting became her safe space. After being discovered by producer Norman Lear, she stepped into the spotlight as Barbara Cooper, only to realize fame could never heal what childhood instability had left behind. Valerie married legendary rocker Eddie Van Halen in 1981, and their love, though passionate, was scarred by addiction, fame, and silence. His cocaine use and health struggles slowly tore them apart, leaving her fighting depression and self-doubt. Their 2007 divorce broke her heart, though she remained by his side until his death years later. Her second marriage to Tom Vitale brought temporary peace, but by 2022 she once again found herself alone, reflecting publicly on self-love and healing. Yet through every collapse, Valerie rebuilt, turning pain into purpose through best-selling books like Losing It and the joyful comfort of her Food Network shows, where she found a new way to nurture herself and others. Now 65 years old, Valerie Bertinelli continues to live with courage and transparency, using her voice to talk about grief, mental health, and self-acceptance. Her estimated net worth of $20 million comes not only from acting, writing, and television, but from her ability to transform heartbreak into hope. Mackenzie Phillips as Julie Cooper. Julie Cooper, the rebellious and emotionally fragile eldest daughter of Anne Romano, was portrayed by Mackenzie Phillips. At 16 years old, she brought raw energy and complexity to One Day at a Time, 1975, portraying a teenager torn between freedom and fear. Her character became a symbol of youth in turmoil. But off-screen, Mackenzie's own life mirrored the chaos she played, blurring the line between fiction and painful reality. Born on November 10, 1959, in Alexandria, Virginia, Mackenzie was the daughter of John Phillips, the legendary frontman of the Mamas and the Papas, and Susan Adams. Her childhood was a collision of fame and neglect. Music and drugs flowed freely in the house. Love and structure did not. By the time she was 11, her father had introduced her to cocaine, a wound that would define her adulthood. At just 12, she was cast in American Graffiti. Earning early stardom during the height of One Day at a Time, her addiction spiraled so dangerously that she was suspended, fired, and later briefly rehired, only to relapse again. The producer's frustration was public. Her pain was private. Her marriages were reflections of that same internal storm. She wed Jeff Sessler in 1979, but their shared addiction turned love into violence and ended in divorce within 2 years. Her later unions with Shane Fontaine and Mick Holt collapsed under similar weight: addiction, instability, and financial strain. Yet Mackenzie refused to disappear. She confronted her demons openly, writing the shocking memoir High on Arrival, in which she revealed years of abuse at the hands of her own father, a revelation that shattered Hollywood's silence about incest and trauma. Now, at 66 years old, Mackenzie Phillips has endured what few could and lived to tell it. Her estimated net worth of $2 million comes from decades of acting, writing, and recovery work. But her true wealth lies in redemption. Nanette Fabray as Grandma Catherine Romano. Grandma Catherine Romano, Anne Romano's mother, was portrayed by Nanette Fabray. At 56 years old, she brought the wise and tender spirit of a matriarch to One Day at a Time, 1976, grounding the show with humor, empathy, and quiet strength. Appearing throughout the series, Fabray gave warmth and wisdom to every scene. Born Ruby Bernadette Nanette. Teresa Fabares on October 27, 1920, in San Diego, California, Fabray's life began under the harsh glare of stage lights. Pushed by her ambitious mother, she performed in vaudeville by age 3 as Baby Nan, dancing to survive the Great Depression rather than for joy. Her parents' divorce when she was 9 left emotional cracks that never fully closed. And by adolescence, she was already battling undiagnosed hearing loss that made her feel isolated and inadequate. For years, she believed she was slow until a teacher urged her to seek medical help. It became the defining story of her life, turning limitation into strength. By 19, Fabray was performing on Broadway, captivating audiences in high-button shoes and winning a Tony Award in 1949 for Love Life. Her charisma and timing later won her 3 Emmys for Caesar's Hour, where she broke comedic boundaries alongside Sid Caesar. But behind the laughter lay heartache. A failed first marriage marked by depression and anxiety, and a second, to screenwriter Ranald McDougall, that brought both love and loneliness. Even as her hearing deteriorated, Fabray refused to surrender. She used her platform to advocate for the deaf and hearing impaired, becoming a powerful voice for those who had none. Sadly, Nanette Fabray passed away peacefully on February 22, 2018, at the age of 97. Her estimated net worth of $6 million reflected a career spanning 8 decades. But her true wealth was measured in courage and compassion. She left behind a legacy not just of laughter and music, but of resilience. Howard Hesseman as Sam Royer. Sam Royer, the thoughtful and good-humored second husband of Anne Romano, was portrayed by Howard Hesseman. At 42 years old, he joined One Day at a Time, 1982, and brought warmth, intelligence, and gentle charm to the later seasons. As Sam, Hesseman represented maturity and compassion in the movie Born on February 27, 1940, in Lebanon, Oregon. Hesseman's early life was marked by separation and discipline. His parents divorced when he was 5, and he was raised by his mother and a strict police officer stepfather. It was a home of rules, not affection. By the time he reached adulthood, he craved freedom and rebellion. He found both in San Francisco's underground scene of the 1960s, becoming a founding member of The Committee, a radical improv troupe. Under the alias Don Sturdy, he worked as a DJ, blending comedy with counterculture. That defiance made him magnetic and dangerous to Hollywood's conservative image at the time. But when WKRP in Cincinnati premiered in 1978, his role as the irreverent DJ Dr. Johnny Fever turned rebellion into brilliance, earning him 2 Emmy nominations and cementing his place in pop culture off-screen. His life carried the same contradictions. His first marriage, to Catherine Maison, crumbled after 9 years, undone by his commitment to art over domesticity. His second, to actress Caroline Ducroc, endured for 3 decades but was strained by his alcoholism and self-isolation. Behind the humor and sharp intellect was a man fighting his own decline. In later years, Hesseman faced health struggles, including colon cancer, which led to surgery and complications. Yet even in pain, he remained the wise rebel, appearing in films like Police Academy 2 and About Schmidt, and mentoring younger actors with quiet generosity. Sadly, Howard Hesseman passed away on January 29, 2022 in Los Angeles at the age of 81 due to complications from colon surgery. His estimated net worth of $5 million reflected a lifetime of artistry, defiance, and endurance. John Hillerman as Mr. Connors. Mr. Connors, the witty and no-nonsense building manager in One Day at a Time, was portrayed by John Hillerman. At 43 years old, Hillerman infused the role with charm, sophistication, and the dry humor that became his trademark. Though a recurring character, his presence gave texture to the show's world. Born on December 20th, 1932, in Denison, Texas, John Benedict Hillerman grew up far from the glamour of Hollywood. The son of a gas station owner and a homemaker, he was raised in a modest home filled with discipline and faith. He served in the U.S. Air Force before studying acting in New York, where he spent over a decade performing on stage with little money but endless passion. His refined speech and commanding presence often made people assume he was British. Hollywood finally took notice when he appeared in The Last Picture Show and Blazing Saddles, roles that showcased his precision and wit. But it was the 1980s hit Magnum P.I. that defined his career. As Jonathan Quayle Higgins III, Hillerman perfected the voice of British propriety and exasperated intelligence, earning both an Emmy and a Golden Globe. Yet while his characters brimmed with life, his personal world remained quiet. A lifelong bachelor, he lived privately, avoiding gossip about his rumored sexuality and retreating from Hollywood's chaos. Sadly, John Hillerman passed away on November 9, 2017, at his home in Houston, Texas, from heart disease. He was 84 years old. His net worth, estimated at $5 million, reflected a lifetime of steady work. But his greatest achievement was authenticity, the grace of an artist who never needed attention to leave a mark. Glenn Scarpelli as Alex Handress. Alex Handress, the bright and charming teen who brought humor and heart to the later seasons of One Day at a Time, was portrayed by Glenn Scarpelli. At just 14 years old, he joined the cast in 1980, playing the quick-witted neighbor who became like family to Anne Romano and her daughters. His youthful charisma made him a fan favorite, even as fame arrived earlier, and more painfully, than he was ready for. Born on July 6, 1966, in Staten Island, New York, Glenn Christopher Scarpelli grew up surrounded by creativity and quiet pressure. His father, Henry Scarpelli, was a celebrated Archie comics artist, and young Glenn inherited his imagination, but not his father's stability. By 10, he was on Broadway, acting alongside Anne Bancroft, and by his teens, he was working opposite Al Pacino in Richard III. Yet beneath the applause was a child trying to find himself in a world that rarely forgave difference. When he joined One Day at a Time, his success came with loneliness, and the perfection expected of a TV kid left him struggling privately with identity and exhaustion. By his early 20s, Glenn faced the harshest test of all, self-acceptance. In 1986, at a time when Hollywood was still deeply hostile to LGBTQ+ performers, he came out as gay, a brave decision that cost him roles, strained family ties, and pushed him into years of silence and depression. Refusing to disappear, Glenn rebuilt his life outside of Hollywood, becoming an entrepreneur and community figure in Sedona, Arizona. There, he co-founded the Sedona Now Network, a local television station using his voice to share stories of healing, resilience, and hope. Now at 59 years old, Glenn Scarpelli continues to live openly and joyfully with his husband, television producer John Ricci Jr. His estimated net worth of $1 million comes from real estate and broadcasting, but his true success lies in the peace he fought to find. Michael Lembeck as Max Horvath. Max Horvath, the kind-hearted yet struggling husband of Julie Cooper, was portrayed by Michael Lembeck. At 31 years old, he joined One Day at a Time in 1979, giving the sitcom a new emotional depth through his portrayal of a man trying to hold both love and responsibility together. His chemistry with Mackenzie Phillips brought tenderness and realism to the show. Born on June 25, 1948 in Brooklyn, New York, Michael grew up in a household steeped in comedy and performance. His father, Harvey Lembeck, was a famous comedian and teacher, and his mother, Caroline Dubbs, worked behind the scenes in the same world. But growing up in show business meant living in constant comparison, and Michael's early years were marked by the pressure to live up to his father's name. Determined to prove himself, he studied acting, singing, and dance, sharing classrooms with Rob Reiner and Albert Brooks. He soon found success in the 1970s with Mary Hartman, and the Croft Super Show, before One Day at a Time made him a household name. Yet fame came with a cost. Behind the jokes and the applause was a young man torn between ambition and personal peace. His private life reflected those same contradictions. His first marriage to singer Barbara Deutsch ended in divorce, strained by long work hours and artistic frustration. His second marriage to actress Lorna Patterson began with optimism, but soon met its own challenges when Michael shifted from acting to directing. Still, that change defined his legacy. He became one of television's most respected directors, helming over 20 episodes of Friends, including the one after the Super Bowl, which earned him an Emmy later. He directed hit films such as The Santa Claus 2, The Santa Claus 3, and Tooth Fairy, bringing warmth and humor to new generations. Now at 77 years old, Michael Lembeck continues to work quietly behind the camera, mentoring younger filmmakers and reflecting on a lifetime that bridged two sides of Hollywood, the actor in front of the lights and the storyteller behind them. His estimated net worth of $3 million comes from decades of directing and acting. Shelley Fabares as Francine Webster. Francine Webster, Ann Romano's ambitious and sharp-tongued co-worker, was portrayed by Shelley Fabares. At 34 years old, she joined One Day at a Time in 1978, embodying the woman everyone loved to hate, confident, stylish, and unapologetically self-centered. Yet beneath that poised exterior, both the character and the actress who played her carried private battles that fame could never mask. Born Michelle Marie Fabares on January 19, 1944 in Santa Monica, California, Shelley grew up surrounded by show business. Her father was a pianist, her mother a homemaker, and her aunt was actress Nanette Fabray. The same woman who would later play her on-screen mother-in-law Shelley began acting at 3 years old, and by 10, she was a seasoned professional. Fame found her early as Mary Stone on The Donna Reed Show, a role that made her America's sweetheart. But with childhood fame came loneliness. Beneath her smile, Shelley wrestled with the pressures of perfection and the fear of fading relevance. By her 20s, she was balancing movie roles opposite Elvis Presley and a chart-topping hit, Johnny Angel, but the price of constant reinvention left her exhausted and emotionally guarded. Her personal life reflected that turmoil. She married record producer Lou Adler in 1964, only to face betrayal and infidelity that ended their marriage in 1982 years later. She fell in love again, this time with actor and activist Mike Farrell, known from MASH. Their love was deep, but fate tested them relentlessly. Shelley was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis in the late 1990s, and by 2000, her liver was failing. In October of that year, she underwent a transplant that saved her life but left lasting scars, both physical and emotional. Through it all, Mike remained by her side, their bond transforming pain into quiet resilience. Her recovery marked not just survival, but rebirth. Now at 81 years old, Shelley Fabares lives peacefully, long retired from Hollywood's glare. Her estimated net worth of $1.5 million reflects decades of work. From Coach, which earned her 2 Emmy nominations, to the timeless melody of Johnny Angel. Joseph Campanella as Ed Cooper. Ed Cooper, Ann Romano's ex-husband, and the father struggling to reconnect with his family, was portrayed by Joseph Campanella. At 52 years old, he brought gravitas and quiet pain to One Day at a Time, 1976, transforming what could have been a one-note character into a portrait of regret, pride, and enduring love. His performance gave the sitcom emotional weight, grounding its humor in the realities of broken marriage and fatherhood. Born on November 21, 1924 in Manhattan to Sicilian immigrant parents, Joseph Anthony Campanella's path to acting began far from the stage. Raised in Washington Heights during the Great Depression, he learned discipline and faith from his devout Catholic family. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, he returned home determined to build something meaningful. Yet the war had changed him. He found solace, not in business, but in performance. Studying drama at Columbia University, he channeled his quiet intensity into theater, then into television, becoming one of the most dependable and respected character actors of the mid-20th century. Off-screen, Campanella's life carried both stability and strain. He married singer and dancer Catherine Jill Bartholomew in 1964, and together they raised 7 sons. But the weight of responsibility tested their endurance. Through it all, his faith never wavered. He appeared in more than 200 roles across film and television, from Mannix and The Mary Tyler Moore Show to Days of Our Lives and Spider-Man, the animated series, where his deep, commanding voice became instantly recognizable. Yet behind the authority was a man slowly weakened by Parkinson's disease, a fight he bore with quiet dignity. Sadly, Joseph Campanella passed away on May 16, 2018, at his home in Sherman Oaks, California, at the age of 93, from complications related to Parkinson's. His estimated net worth of $4 million reflected a lifetime of steady artistry, but his real legacy lies in his grace, the humility of a performer who never needed to be a star to illuminate every scene he entered. Richard Masur as David Kane. David Kane, the gentle and dependable boyfriend who brought calm into Anne Romano's chaotic life, was portrayed by Richard Masur. At 27 years old, he joined One Day at a Time in 1975, appearing in the earliest seasons as the voice of reason and quiet support. His warmth and grounded energy made David the kind of man viewers wished would stay. Born on November 20, 1948 in New York City, Richard Masur grew up in a working-class Jewish family that valued education and empathy more than fame. His mother was a school counselor, his father a pharmacist, both dreamers trapped in practicality. Young Richard found escape in school plays and later at the Yale School of Drama, where he learned that acting wasn't just performance, it was psychology, the study of what makes people hurt and heal. But the world outside Yale wasn't kind to gentle souls. The 1970s film industry prized charisma and danger. That was the reason why Richard took every role he could, from Rhoda to the Waltons, from All in the Family to One Day at a Time, slowly building a reputation as one of television's most reliable character actors. Behind the camera, life wasn't simple. His first marriage to producer Freda Weiss in 1976 was filled with collaboration and creative passion, but also exhaustion. Hollywood's long hours and emotional toll slowly wore them down. Their love ended in divorce after nearly 3 decades, though they remained friends until her death. When Richard married actress and union leader Eileen Henry in 2004, he found not only a partner, but a cause. As president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1995 to 1999, he fought fiercely for fair treatment, health care, and dignity for performers. Now at 77 years old, Richard Masur continues to act and mentor younger artists in New York's theater circles, dividing his time between stage and advocacy. His estimated net worth of $2 million reflects not just a lifetime of work, but of integrity. Proof that success isn't measured by fame, but by how faithfully one lives their values. Decades have passed, but the memories of One Day at a Time still live on in our hearts. Which actor's story moved you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories behind the stars who shaped our memories.